They're on the same stage, hoping you'll see the stark differences in their positions. PIX-11 is your local election headquarters, and this is the Democratic primary debate for New York's 16th Congressional District.
It is debate night in New York, and we are coming to you live from the PIX-11 studios on the east side of Manhattan tonight. New York's 16th Congressional District, made up of parts of Westchester County and the Bronx, is the primary focus. These two gentlemen want to represent that district in the next Congress. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dan Manarino, host of Picks on Politics, joined tonight by PIX-11 political reporter Henry Rossoff.
Good evening.
Great to have you here with us here tonight, Henry, to ask our candidates questions. And as the candidates give their answers, the newest member of the PIX-11 political team, Grace Gomez, will be closely following along, tweeting live, using the hashtag PIXDebate NY-16 and working on our debate post-show. Candidates, let's briefly go through the rules for you. Each of you will get 60 seconds to answer a question. Now, we may also have follow-ups where you will get an additional 30 seconds, and you will have up to 30 seconds for rebuttals. The ringing of a bell will be used to signal that your time has expired. There it is. And with that business out of the way, candidates, let us begin. And we are going to start tonight with the topic of leadership. Mr. Bowman, you've been elected to Congress twice. Mr. Latimer, you have 4 decades of experience in public office. So we want to know what sets you apart from one another, and why does the way in which you lead better serve the people of NY-16? Mr. Latimer, we're going to have you go first as you are the leader in our most recent poll. You have 60 seconds here.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Henry. Leadership represents the ability to bring people together and solve problems and to find common ground so that you can move forward. The perception of leadership is somehow that you have to be loud-spoken, that somehow you have to be a bigger-than-life personality, and that is not necessarily how it works. I've seen in the New York State legislature, in the county legislature, and now as a county executive, that leadership requires people to work together and for someone to make sure that you move from an idea to an actual accomplished fact. I've been able to do that over the course of my time. I draw from my 20 years in corporate life, which also helps me understand what it takes to bring people with you when you're showing that leadership skill.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. Mr. Bowman, same question to you. What sets you apart from your opponent, and why does the way in which you lead better serve the people of NY-16? Also, 60 seconds to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and be a part of this debate. I actually studied leadership when I received my doctorate in educational leadership. And I also was an incredible leader when I worked as a middle school principal in the Bronx for 10.5 years. There are many different forms of leadership. My form of leadership is servant leadership. I like to serve the people in the district and serve my community. I've been doing service since I've been in education for 20 years versus a teacher, counselor, then middle school principal, and now I serve with the people of the 16th district. We work in collaboration. I work in collaboration with Joanne Dunn and the Westchester Youth Shelter. I work in collaboration with Judge Rice and the Court Innovation Program. I work in collaboration with Sean Passon Howard and the Mayor of Mount Vernon. Work in collaboration with people of New York City, Hastings, Mamaroneck, Rye, and White Plains. So it's about collaboration, and it's about servant leadership.
Mr. Bowman, thank you. And Henry has our next question.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you, Dan. As Dan mentioned, we did some exclusive public polling in your race. Let's take a look at that in the top issues for likely Democratic voters. First is the economy, including inflation and jobs. A very close second was housing affordability. And third, threats to democracy. So let's start with that top issue, the economy, and take a look, if you could, at some recent headlines that make it seem like the economy is doing well. Latest reports show that inflation is slowing down. Wall Street continues to hit record highs. But in survey after survey, as you well know, Americans say they're still feeling the pinch. So, Mr. Bowman, we're going to begin with you this time. How can Congress ease the financial burden that American families are feeling? 60 seconds.
We need a federal jobs guarantee. We need to invest in the NLRB to support workers and foreman unions. We need to hold corporations accountable for price gouging and make sure they are contributing their fair share to support our government so that we can reinvest in the American people. We have a bill called the Ending Corporate Greed Act, which seeks to do just that. It brings down the inflation costs, it forces corporations to open their books, and it holds them accountable to paying their fair share of taxes to our overall economy. My opponent supports Trump's tax cuts, which are trillions of dollars in tax cuts to the largest corporations, and it hurts the working class people. We need to reinvest in the working class people with a federal jobs guarantee and holding corporations accountable. We have brought back millions of dollars to the district to invest in workforce development in Yonkers and the Bronx to make sure we are targeting high-need communities to help them develop their work experience and make more money.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Latimer, coming to you. What would you do in Congress to help American families feeling the pinch? You also have 60 seconds.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is to restore the SALT tax deduction for taxpayers. There are people who are middle-class homeowners that have lost a major financial benefit, which they need to have restored. Unlike what my opponent said, my intention is to shift the tax cuts from those that received it under Donald Trump to the middle-class homeowners. Those are the ones that deserve it, and they're the ones that, when they have additional money, will recycle it into the economy and help the rising tide raise all boats. I've shown in Westchester County the way we bounced back from the COVID crisis. We have one of the strongest economies of any of the metropolitan area counties because we were able to invest in a host of different economic development programs, and I think that's what we need to do at the federal level as well. As far as legislation, I support the PRO Act, which is important for our unions, and that's why I have the support of most of the local union people, the civil service workers, the bus drivers and the mechanics, the plumbers, the electricians. They all support my candidacy because they've seen what I've done in Westchester, and they know that I will take that mindset to Washington, D.C.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. Dan?
Gentlemen, the topic of race has been invoked over the course of this campaign by each of you. So this question is for both of you. Well, we start with you, Mr. Latimer. Your opponent posted on X that you used a, quote, Islamophobic dog whistle in a forum. And he told PIX-11 News that you have a poor record on racial justice as county executive. In 60 seconds, what do you have to say about those allegations?
Those are baloney allegations. The Islamophobic accusation comes from my mentioning the word Dearborn, Michigan, when I was citing where he was drawing support from. And the reason why I use Dearborn, Michigan is not because of his Islamic presence there. It's because Representative Tlaib and he created a joint fundraising committee on February 14th, Valentine's Day, in which money that she raised now could go into his campaign. That's why I mentioned Dearborn, Michigan. So it has nothing to do with Islamophobia. And I think this is an example of using race as a weapon. What we need to do is bring people together, not just deal with people based on their demographics, but deal with everybody universally, whatever their economic level is, whatever their religion is. That's what we've done in Westchester County to raise the rising tide for all boats. We've treated in our policies all people together, whether they're in the LGBTQ community, whether they are female, whether they are Jewish, whether they are Muslim, and that has worked in Westchester County. That mindset, that unifying mindset, has to be the mindset that you take to Washington.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. Mr. Bowman, in 30 seconds, what's your response to that?
When you look at the outcomes of black people in Westchester County, the average black family makes $86,000 less than the average white family. 14% of the children in Westchester County are black. They make up 62% of the children in child prisons. And he's looking to build another child prison. He has stated, I take money from Hamas. His campaigns have sent mailers darkening my skin. He has an abysmal record when it relates to racial justice and equality in Westchester County, and we need to hold him accountable for that.
Mr. Latimer, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think Jamaal is cornering the market on lies. Let's go through some of them within the 15 seconds that you give me. Number one, we didn't darken his skin on any mailings. That's in his own mind. In terms of the question about Hamas, Hamas sympathizers, and it's been shown by his fundraisers in both Northern Virginia and in Los Angeles that some of the people that were there to give money said positive things about Hamas. I run out of time to answer all of these. Hopefully I'll have more time to be able to deflect some of these lies that he's offering.
Okay, Mr. Latimer, thank you. Mr. Bowman, back to you for a second here. Your opponent said in your last debate that you don't mention the needs of Asians or people who are not black or brown. So in 60 seconds, what do you say about those allegations?
That's a joke. We've worked very closely with the Asian American community since we've gotten into office. We've stood up to anti-Asian hate in Scarsdale and other parts of the district. We represent the entire district, every corner of the district. We've brought financial resources back to every corner of the district, including Rye, including White Plains, including Greenburgh, as well as Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and the Bronx. And so that's a joke. The statement that I'm only representing part of the district is a joke. I was a keynote speaker at Scarsdale High School a couple of years ago during their social justice event for students. When a young man lost his life in Rye High School due to suicide, I showed up to support the teachers, students, and families there. I support the whole district. I govern with the entire district, but I do pay extra attention to the parts of the district that he's been trying to keep segregated for decades and that he has neglected throughout his entire career. We need more investments in Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and the Bronx, and I'm going to bring those investments back.
Mr. Bowman, thank you. Mr. Latimer, much like I did with your opponent, your response, you have 30 seconds here.
I grew up in the south side of Mount Vernon. Jamaal did not. Jamaal came to Westchester within the last 10 years or so. He doesn't know Westchester the way I do. When he talks about what we have or haven't done in the poor communities, he doesn't know. He's not in the district enough to know. He knows that it's a good political attack to say those things, but the people who live in Mount Vernon and Yonkers know. I was endorsed by the Mount Vernon and the Yonkers Democratic committees because they know what I've done there. And rebuilding Memorial Field, making the buses free during the summertime, a major reconstruction project of sewer pipe that the county is overseeing. We've done more than our share.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. We're going to leave it there. And Mr. Bowman, we're going to get to other topics right now. Henry has the next question.
Yes, and your time's your time, but we will keep trucking, I promise. We're going to talk about affordable housing, which both of you have told me personally is very important in this race. So we definitely want to get there. And we polled voters, and they said this as well. The finance site Bankrate says it's now 26% more expensive for an American to own and maintain a home than it was 4 years ago. And Moody's rating agency says Westchester County is the fourth most expensive metropolitan area for renters. Mr. Bowman, we're beginning with you this time. What's one specific thing you would do in the next term of Congress to address affordable housing? 60 seconds.
We need to make housing a human right. There's a bill, Housing for All Act, the Housing for All Act, that seeks to invest $1 trillion in affordable housing over the next 10 years to make sure we build affordable housing, truly affordable for low-income people and working-class people across the country, because everyone should have a safe, dignified home. My opponent, unfortunately, to going back to his question or his statement before, he ran from Mount Vernon 40 years ago and has been living in Rye, New York for several decades. And when we talk about investments and supporting the people of Mount Vernon, during his time as county executive, taxes have gone up for people in Rye, gone down for people in Rye, and have gone up for people in Yonkers and Mount Vernon, the working class people, people of color of the district, and they feel it every single day. We've worked with Elizabeth Warren and the president to create a Renters Bill of Rights, and we brought back millions of dollars to the district to work with West Hab to build affordable housing.
Mr. Latimer, coming to you for a response, of course, but please also one specific idea to improve the affordable housing. 60 seconds.
I would agree. I think you need a lie detector for this debate and attach it to Jamaal's arm, because the numbers will be going off the chart. He accused us of building child jails. He accused us of a host of different things that are just crazy. The bottom line is, I didn't run from Mount Vernon. Did you run from public housing when you lived in public housing? You lived there for a while, and then you moved elsewhere. Here's the bottom line, and this is specific. I would call Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, and I would say, Mr. Speaker, please set up a meeting with me for the leader of Region 3 of HUD in New York City. I want to go in the first month of being a congressman, and I want to go into facts and figures on the various projects that are being worked on in Yonkers, in Mount Vernon, in Portchester, in Wakefield, in each of the different corners of this county, in Tarrytown, places that he has forgotten about when he does his little list of the places that he's stopped by once over the course of 4 years. In each of those different things, I would go in and meet with the region director. I'd give them specific projects. I'd highlight why statistically it was important, and I'd use every drop of energy to get those things to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Latimer. Mr. Bowman, 30 seconds to respond.
So he was a part of keeping Westchester County segregated since the 90s. He has not shown up and been a leader as it relates to affordable housing and renters in the county during his tenure as county executive. He has also been honored by developers in our district, not renters, not tenants, because that's who he works for. He works for the billionaire class, billionaire Republicans to be exact. So he will go to Congress to serve the billionaire class, not the people holding him accountable for doing nothing on affordable housing in Westchester.
Mr. Latimer, 30 seconds, and then we are moving on, both of you.
Yeah, I have shown that I work for all the people of this district. Jamaal makes speeches for all the the people of the district, but he hasn't proven anything. He hasn't built one stick of affordable housing. We've developed and opened the key for 2,500 units of affordable housing, 3 times the amount that my predecessor has. We have 4,000 units in the pipeline, and they're in the urban areas and in the suburban areas of this district. If the people of Westchester understand what's true, they can see exactly how much fabrication he is trying to offer in order to hold on to his seat in Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Latimer. Dan?
We're going to talk right now about Israel's war with Hamas, gentlemen. It began with the Hamas terror attack, as you know, in Israel back on October 7th, claiming the lives of 1,200 Israelis and others. Concerns have now been raised about the number of civilians killed in the ensuing fighting in Gaza. Mr. Latimer, the closest that we've gotten to your stance on this is a clip from last December. Take a look right here.
That's why I say you use the word genocide. Be very careful what you're saying, because what genocide was gas chambers and people who were herded into a building for the purpose of being killed.
Mr. Latimer, in the months since you made that comment, there have been thousands of additional civilian casualties reported in Gaza. So we ask you now, is what's happening on the ground in Gaza a genocide? You have 60 seconds.
No, it is not genocide. Let me tell you what it is. It is the unwillingness of Hamas to sit down at the table. President Biden and Secretary Blinken offered a program this very week that had the support of the United Nations, also had the support of Israel's willingness to go along with it. Hamas has to release hostages. All of this began because of the horrific action on October 7th. The way that people went in and raped women and murdered people, which he denied until it was impossible for him to continue to deny it. If you can get Hamas to release those prisoners, you can get a cessation of the military action and humanitarian aid. And that is the intelligent way to go forward in peace. When you call 3 days after the attack for ceasefire, what you're really saying is, we want Hamas to keep the hostages, and now we want to start negotiating. That's not a responsible position that he's taken.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. Mr. Bowman, in November, you were outside the White House when you said this about the war. Take a listen.
We should conduct ourselves as a diplomatic democracy, not as a nation that supports and condones just this slaughter of tens of thousands of civilians and almost 10,000 children. We are allowing babies to be killed because of our policies.
So, Mr. Bowman, are you saying that the White House is condoning genocide? You have 60 seconds here.
I'm saying the United States Congress should not be sending weapons to Israel at this time because, according to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, there is a plausible genocide happening in Gaza right now. We need a permanent ceasefire, which includes a release of the hostages, as I have stated multiple times, humanitarian aid getting into Gaza right now because a famine is setting in. We have almost 40,000 dead. We have 16,000 children dead, and we have hundreds of thousands injured. He won't even acknowledge the existence of the Palestinian people, and he will not say Palestine because he wants to erase them from the consciousness of the American people. Say Palestine. Acknowledge Palestinian people. Let me see you do that.
Mr. Have rebuttal?
Mr. I'm going to come to you in 1 second, but Mr. Bowman, I want to stay with you for 1 second here, because I heard you say Congress, but is the White House condoning genocide was the question. 15 seconds.
Is the White House condoning genocide?
Are you saying the White
I
House
would like
is
for
condoning
President Biden to do more to make sure we are not sending weapons to Israel at this time, and especially Benjamin Netanyahu, who has evoked language that is genocidal, just like President Herzog has evoked language that is genocidal, and that's why international charges are being brought against Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, Mr. Bowman, thank you. Mr. Latimer, coming to you for 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that the biggest reason why you have the casualties, Hamas created a terrorist attack, no different than what happened on 9/11 here in New York, where 3,000 New Yorkers died. And in that response to that, Israel did not move into Gaza immediately. And during that period of time, what Hamas did cynically was to put their citizens in between the military force and hide the hostages and put those civilians out there to be killed. I can say the word Palestine. Can you say the word truth? Mr. Bowman constantly bends the truth to his satisfaction. He did not call for the hostages to be released in the beginning. He denied that there were atrocities on October 7th. He's proven time and time again that he's hostile to the state of Israel.
We're going to
have a rebuttal.
Mr. Bowman, I'm going to give you a 30-second rebuttal here, and then we're going to move on with Henry on this topic too. But you get 30 seconds.
We're staying with the topic.
We immediately condemned the October 7th attacks. We condemned the celebration of it that took place in Manhattan. We condemned Hamas immediately. I've met with families of hostages and vowed to help them fight to get them back. And I've called for at least the release of hostages at least 10 times. So when we talk about truth, I'm actually in Congress doing the work of the people of the district, and I understand how Congress works.
Not in
and
Congress
I understand
now. You've been missing votes left and right.
Understood, Mr. Latimer.
Well, he interrupted me, so I thought it was fair game.
Again, he does not acknowledge the existence of Palestinians. He has conflated Palestinians with Hamas, and he doesn't acknowledge a Palestinian state. I wonder if he supports a two-state solution. And this is because AIPAC, the people who are funding his campaign, will not allow him to even condemn Benjamin Netanyahu or acknowledge the existence of Palestinians.
Mr. Latimer, do you want to answer the allegations here? 15 seconds.
He's the one who's supported by Democratic Socialists of America that wanted to get rid of the state of Israel. I understand that there needs to be, it is true, I understand there needs to be a two-state solution. I've said that all along. You've heard me say it. But that two-state solution has to be negotiated between the Arab world and the Israeli world. Hamas cannot be at the table. They're a terrorist organization.
Why can't you say
and the state of Palestine, why can't you wait till your rebuttal? I'm trying to follow the rules that Dan and Henry have set out. The bottom line is this. It is a difficult situation, and you cannot come to this kind of situation putting gas or kerosene on a raging fire.
Okay, Mr.
That's
Latimer.
what he's done.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. We're staying on this topic, and Henry has the next question.
Let's move the ball forward here, gentlemen, because we want to get to some news of the day related to this topic. Earlier today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu criticized the United States for withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. The question is this, Mr. Bowman, coming to you first, 30 seconds. You've already raised concerns about the Congress funding what Israel is doing. At what level does that go to? Should the United States stop funding the Iron Dome, for example?
Stop all funding to Benjamin Netanyahu. All funding. We need a pathway to peace. There is no military solution to this problem. We need Palestinian, that is how you say it, leadership at the table with Israeli leadership, with American leadership to have a permanent ceasefire, release the hostages, get humanitarian aid in there. Children are starving to death, and we need to get to a Palestinian state, not in rhetoric, but in policy and in budget. Right now, we should not be sending a dime to Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Latimer, did the criticism of President Biden, was it accurate? Was it a correct decision by Mr. Biden to slow down the sending of weapons and ammunition?
I trust Joe Biden, and I think Benjamin Netanyahu's criticism of the president is wrong there. But the bottom line is I don't automatically criticize Israel as he does. In this particular case, I think Joe Biden is trying to work through a very difficult situation. He's trying to deal with both the Arab world and the Israeli world. And there are allies in the Arab world that wants to see peace. And there are nations in the Arab world that want to continue war. Iran, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon. This is not a simple process. And so when a congressman thinks he's the Secretary of State and he starts pontificating, you should do this, you should do this, I think that shows his immaturity as a congressman. You need to work through, you need to work through the Democratic leadership to influence the president to make progress in this negotiation.
Thank you, Mr. Latimer.
Can I have a rebuttal?
We're staying with the topic and coming to my colleague Dan on the topic.
Gentlemen, Prime Minister Netanyahu will address Congress on July 24th, about a month from now. His invitation to speak was supported by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Mr. Latimer, coming to you first, would you have joined New York's congressional leaders in supporting that very invitation? You have 30 seconds.
If Leader Hakeem Jeffries indicates that he wants the Democrats to sit and listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, then I would sit and listen. I believe the leader of the Democratic Conference should have the ability to be able to direct what he thinks makes the best sense for us, and I would listen. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with what he says. It doesn't mean that I'm going to like what he says. But if the leader of the conference says, we want you there to hear out of courtesy, then I would be there to hear out of courtesy.
Just a quick follow-up here for you, Mr. Latimer. Sure. Should Mr. Netanyahu step down? You have 15 seconds.
It's not for me to say that. I think I've met with Yair Lapid, who's one of the opposition leaders. I found him very charismatic and a very persuasive person. So I see alternate leadership in the future of Israel. But I think it's foolish for us as American public officials to comment about what Israelis should do.
Okay, Mr. Latimer.
It widens the gap between
Going to leave
us.
it there. Thank you. Mr. Bowman, same question to you. Do you join New York's congressional leaders in supporting the invitation to Prime Minister Netanyahu? You have 30 seconds here.
I do not support Benjamin Netanyahu coming and addressing a joint session of Congress. Right now, Benjamin Netanyahu may be tried as a war criminal, and he should not be addressing Congress. It sends the wrong message, and it's not what we should be doing at this time. You know, my opponent mentioned the criticism of Israel as being a bad thing. They have been engaging in 75 years of military occupation, and 700,000 settlers have expanded into the West Bank. Those are violations of international law.
Bowman.
They deserve criticism when it's warranted.
Mr. Bowman, thank you very much. Henry.
We're going to wrap up this section, gentlemen, with an analysis of the reaction to the war here at home, specifically SUNY Purchase, which is in the district. It agreed last month to not discipline dozens of students who were arrested while protesting the war in Gaza. The school also agreed to be more transparent about the companies it does business with. That was a big request from the protesters. Beginning with you, Mr. Bowman, did Purchase handle this situation correctly by negotiating?
Oh, absolutely, and I'm glad the students will not be disciplined. You know, the First Amendment is a bedrock of our democracy, and peaceful protests should be supported and warranted, and we need to listen to the young people because we have been sending billions of dollars in military aid to our ally Israel for many years. Yes, to keep them safe, but they have to follow international law. If they're engaged in a military occupation of the West Bank, if we have a settlement expansion in the neighborhood of 700,000 settlers in the West Bank, and we have a blockade in Gaza, and if we have a situation where 18 human rights organizations have referred to Israel as an apartheid state, we need to be doing something different. And he doesn't want to speak honestly about the conditions over there.
Thank you,
and again,
Mr. Bowman.
doesn't acknowledge Palestine.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Latimer, did SUNY Purchase handle this correctly? 30 seconds.
I think ultimately they did, and we stood behind what decisions that the president of the college made in consult with the governor. Let me say, though, that you heard from Jamaal about 75 years of occupation. That's how he defines the state of Israel being in their present location. And you heard him use the word apartheid as dealing with the Israeli government. So I think he's clearly on the record, again, in public. He said over the weekend that he viewed it as a colonial settler state in one of his Breakfast Club YouTube conversations. So I think you understand where Jamaal Bowman is on this issue. You understand what George Latimer is on this issue.
Thank you, gentlemen. We want to get to a lot of topics here. I'm going to send it over to Dan.
We're going to talk about another local issue here, gentlemen. Recently, Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams have weighed in on people wearing masks. Governor Hochul says she would like to see a ban on mask wearing in the subway system. Mayor Adams says he would like to see a ban on mask wearing during protests, much like we saw in New York a few years ago. Both of these bans obviously would impact your constituents. Mr. Latimer, coming to you first. Would you support any ban on wearing masks? You have 60 seconds.
Well, we've used our authority with our public transit areas to have masks allowed for when the public health necessary was apparent. If a person is wearing a mask, I don't know what their reason is to wear the mask or not. They may wear it because they have a health condition. They may feel that being in that kind of a general situation on a public bus or at the county airport is a problem. So I've avoided making any sort of mandates in this area. We've got through COVID as well as anyone. We were cited as the county that handled the COVID crisis best by dealing with masks in a proper way. Now, the governor has overarching authority. If she determines that there's a mandate, this happened under Governor Cuomo, if they have an overarching mandate and they make the mandate, then we comply. But given the authority to do that, I would not restrict a person's willingness to use a mask or not use a mask because I presume they're doing it for health reasons and no other reasons. If they use a mask and they commit an armed robbery, that's something different.
Mr. Bowman, same question to you. Would you support any ban on wearing masks? You have 60 seconds.
I don't believe so. I would follow the healthcare professionals on this, and I know many people have underlying conditions that they're trying to make sure they're keeping themselves safe by wearing masks. I know many people are dealing with long COVID. That continues to be an issue that's under discussed, and so, you know, I don't think I would support a outright ban on masks. They should continue to be optional.
Mr. Bowman, thank you. And just like that, we are halfway through. We're going to take a quick break, everybody, but there's a lot more of the debate to go. And make sure you stick around, everybody, for our debate night in New York post show, streaming on PIX11 Plus, PIX11.com. Our Grace Gomez preparing to host that show as we speak. Coming up next, we tackle reparations in a way you are going to want to see. We are back in just 2 minutes. Stay with us.